here.
90.1
KPFT FM HD2 Houston.
KPFT.
Hello, Houston. Live from the KPFT studios, it's the Houston Hour with Houston historian and TV's Mr. McKinney and Heidi Vaughn of Heidi Vaughn Fine Art. Now, sit back and relax as we bring you an hour of all things arts, entertainment, history, and Houston happenings. Here's Mr. McKinney.
Hello, Houston. It is Wednesday, November 26th. Mr. McKinney here with Mr. McKinney's Historic Houston, coming to the KPFT Houston airwaves and my awesome co-host, Heidi Vaughn of Heidi Vaughn Fine Arts. Say hello, Heidi.
Hello, Houston. Hi, Mr. McKinney.
Well, we have a very special lady on the art side, okay? She is a Guatemalan artist, a painter, a sculptor, and she gives international art tours. She's got a really cool gallery in an historic 1929 building. Near and dear to my heart, Heidi, who is going to be on the art side?
Gabriela Monterroso of Monterroso Gallery at Isabella Court.
And you often go to some of her shows.
I do. You know, we dealers really do support each other and recommend each other, and I go to a lot of shows at galleries, not just my own.
And her big 5th anniversary event is happening on December 4th, so stay tuned for that. We're going to give you more information on that. But we're not going to waste any more time. We'll get started with our very first guest.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney. It is a real honor and a privilege to introduce our arts guest today. Gabriela Monterroso is a multidisciplinary artist based in Houston and the founder of Monterroso Gallery. Gabriela Monterroso, welcome to the Houston Hour.
Thank you for having me, Heidi.
It's nice that I've been to your gallery. It makes it nice to talk about it because I've personally experienced the space. I have a little bit of gallery envy because yours is bigger than mine. And you also have a great location. Where is your gallery located?
So the gallery is at 3911 Main Street at the Isabella Court building, which is
a famous property. Yes. What's the style of that building?
Yeah, it's actually Spanish colonial revival, and it goes back to 1928-29 by architect William Bordeaux, and the developer was a gentleman by the name of Pierre Michael. Now, Pierre Michael is well known because he has this wonderful home on Belle Meade and Chevy Chase in River Oaks. It's actually owned by a husband and wife architecture team, but that's his home that he built in 1926 out in River Oaks. So he was a well-known Houstonian of the time period that left us a really wonderful legacy as a developer. I love that building. In fact, mother and daughter team that run it, Trudy and Jennifer, do a great job really preserving that space, keeping it there. And there's a waiting list for those apartments. So there's these wonderful multi-level apartments that are inside of there. There's some great commercial space that's also on the first floor over on Main Street. But it's just so neat to be able to have a real throwback to Houston's love for Spanish and colonial Mediterranean architecture of the 1920s. So many of these buildings are gone. They were sprinkled all throughout Houston. They were torn down. But the South Main Corridor, even as far down as Alameda, had a lot of these buildings of the 1920s and 30s. And other cities have that similar style as well in our region and all over the country. So yeah, a little part of Houston history. I love that you're there. So folks, you can also go for the art, obviously, but the building is also a wonderful experience too. So sensory overload.
The building is great. Well, and so is what you show inside. It is a Latin American gallery, is that right?
We support and showcase the work of Latin American art, but we also show the work of other people in Houston from different backgrounds. Yes.
And when did you arrive in Houston?
I came 18 years ago, 18 years ago. Yes.
Did you come from Guatemala?
Before, I lived in Mexico City for 8 years, and my son was actually born in Mexico, and my daughter was born here.
But you're from Guatemala?
I am from Guatemala, yes. I moved to Mexico City for a job after college.
In art?
No, my background is industrial psychology, so I was a project manager for many years in Mexico City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in an IT company, actually.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes.
And Monterrey is a big art town.
You know, honestly, I wasn't a lot into art or art buying at that time. I was painting though. So I know Mexico City, it's amazing, has a lot of museums and it's so rich in art. I was only 2 years in Monterrey and I was really working. And it was really when I came to Houston when I started my artistic path.
And was that because your kids were older?
No, it was because my kids were younger.
Oh.
So I had to stop working.
Okay.
And my daughter, like I said, was born here. So I decided to join the Glassell School of Art in 2012. I just really wanted to paint better. because my mom's an artist and I grew up in a very creative household. My mom is also a musician. My dad's very imaginative as well. So I was always very creative, but never really pursued that as a career until I came here and I had that free time to decide, kind of reinvent yourself. And I went to the Glassell school. My very first class was drawing because you had to start from the beginning. And that opened a whole new world for me. Like, I didn't know I could draw.
I see.
You know, so that's how it started.
And then you went on to the block program.
Yes. I took one class every semester until I got my COA in painting, Certificate of Achievement. It took me 10 years. And after that, I went to the block program. And now I'm getting my COA in ceramics next year.
Wow.
So I guess it will never stop.
Well, you know, people often ask me, can you have a professional career as an artist? And I say, well, certainly lots of people do. But I recommend that you get the best education you can get. And you really do get that at the Glassell.
Yes.
The people who teach there are real practicing artists that are respected and who show in important exhibitions and around the world, really. So I'm glad that you did that. And when you're at the Glassell, you get to be in exhibitions, and the Glassell is part of the Museum of Fine Arts. So you're really around like the best there is in Houston.
And it's become really my alma mater. And it's not only the teachers and the work, but it just makes you want to explore more how creative can you be. And the friendships that you make there, that's amazing. So not only networking, but it's really true friendships because we're sharing our art. And when you're sharing your art, you're sharing a part of yourself.
It's very intimate.
So, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you ever think you would have an art gallery?
I kind of have like an entrepreneurial vein. And I didn't want to be thinking about my art all day. You know, and especially I had a studio for many years, and you get into that rhythm of selling your art, and then suddenly you're not really doing what inspires you.
Well, when you focus too much on selling your art, that's when you step into decorative territory.
Yeah. So this has given me a space for my art. I'm not as prolific as I used to be, but I'm really creating what I love. And then during those times where I was sharing a studio, I realized that I really enjoyed talking about my studio mates' art with the visitors more than my own.
Oh, yeah.
So when you get to know the artists and understand why they're doing what they're doing, it becomes really more interesting.
Well, that's what I do because I don't even make art. I'd love to talk about the sculpture that you brought with you. It's really beautiful. It looks like it's made out of at least a couple of materials. What did you bring?
So it's a sculpture of raku clay, and it's on a base of walnut wood. So all my work is inspired in the human figure, in the female figure, and thinking of them as vessels, the women as a vessel, because we're creators, mothers, and they usually have their hands in the front, like carrying a baby or maybe hugging themselves or carrying something important. It could be an idea, it could be a project. And I always try to use materials to recreate that they look old, like some time passing, and they have been through time. So this is one of my favorites.
I love that. Can you tell our listeners what raku means?
The raku clay, it's just a type of clay. It's not raku fire, which is a different method.
I was going to say it has a different look. Raku fired usually looks like it's been burnt because it has been fired in fire.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the clay is raku clay, which because it's white.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it has a little bit of glaze, but I always try to keep them as natural as possible.
And the walnut is really gorgeous. It's got this great pattern on it. Yeah. Is that a natural pattern on there, or did you?
Yes.
It is naturally. It's quite a contrast in the colors on the walnut.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does it have a title?
It's called Superficial. So I made different ones. Some of them are more organic than others.
We're going to talk about the show that's about to open up. But first, I'd like to talk about a couple of other shows that you had. And I was delighted to find out that you'd curated a show that I love very much. And Mr. McKinney also has seen, by Carolyn Marks Johnson, who's an artist, sculptor, and former Texas judge. She showed this series that I'm going to ask you about at the Heritage Society, as well as at the Holocaust Museum and at your gallery. It was called The Spirit of the Universe.
Yes.
What was in that exhibition?
So Carolyn created bronze collars. She knits.
Yes.
And she sews. So she created collars first by hand, and then she rendered them in bronze.
think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the
collar,
collars
yeah.
that she was famous for wearing that were knitted and then having those turned into bronze. And I think there were 23 famous American women.
At the time when we started, I think there were 21. Each one is inspired by a woman in the American history that has done something for women's rights or human's rights. I think now she has 23. The amazing thing about doing this with her is that I really learned so much about American history, and she is a storyteller. So we had so much fun putting
She's so
the show
smart.
together. Yes.
Well,
definitely.
you know, people are often surprised that I know a lot about history. And I always say, well, art history has something to do with history. It's
Yes.
not just art. But of course, Mr. McKinney knows a lot about history too, just from a different aspect. But yeah, art really can educate people. And it's in a way that people find really fun because art is fun.
Exactly.
I think. Then another show that you put on that I really appreciated was with Priscilla Bianchi. Can you talk about that show?
So now I started representing artists from Guatemala.
Do you represent mostly women?
No, I also represent other artists, men from Guatemala, Valens, Alfredo Garcia. He had a show back in May. Priscilla was the first one that I presented in 2024. She's an art quilter. She also, as Caroline, actually, she started in art because she knew how to sew.
Yeah.
So her approach is based a lot in the indigenous colors and weaving textiles and techniques, but it's a mix between the art quilting, the American art quilting, with the designs and colors of the Guatemalan colors.
It was such a mix because really contemporary art quilt, but also I think a lot of Mayan influence.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a very unexpected juxtaposition done to very great effect, in my opinion.
Yes, and she's also a great storyteller.
She
She's
is.
been doing this for a while, so her talks are amazing.
Yeah.
And you learn also a lot from that.
Yeah, it's definitely one that stays with you.
Yes.
So you're a founding member of the Latin American Women Artists of Houston.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So back in, I think it's like 10 years ago, probably, Ariel Mazon, she's a teacher at the Glassell. She was saying, like there's so many Latin American women here and they don't know among themselves because we have different classes, different days of the week. So she invited us all for a breakfast, get to know each other. And from then on, it just started. First, it was women from the Glassell, and we've come to have other people, not only from the Glassell School of Art, but it's been amazing. I can say that I have true friendships from that group. So that was a great initiative by Ariel Mazon.
Do you get together for breakfast or go to
Yes,
each other's
we-
exhibitions?
Yes, we get together every 2 months. Right now, we're kind of aiming to be engaged with the community. And basically, we are each other's fans. It's a community group.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Now, Gabriela, you had a really special exhibit over at your gallery a while back. Tell listeners about it.
Yes, huipil, which is the top garment of the indigenous female costume in Guatemala. 15 huipiles. And the beauty about this is that it's not only a blouse, it's a hand-woven embroidered piece that has symbols from the region it was made. So people can see, just by looking at what you're wearing, people know where you're from, if you're married, if you're single, if you're a widow.
Your
you know.
blouse lets people know if you're
Yeah,
single.
Definitely, yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's some advertising.
I could use one of those. So just so our listeners know, it's Huipil, pronounced Whipil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was mentioning to you in the green room, I own 4 articles of clothing that I believe were owned and worn by Frida Kahlo.
That's amazing.
And I'll have to show them to you. They're really beautiful and they're handmade. And now that I know you know something about them, I'd love for you to tell me
would love to.
if they say anything.
Well, there probably are Mexican huipiles, but yes, they all are. They carry history, they carry identity, and the reason I wanted to put this show together is because we have to celebrate this powerful identity celebration of identity.
Well, there's a lot of focus, I think, in Houston with the Mexican-American community here, and that's wonderful. But I love the idea of really diving deep into the Guatemalan culture.
What would you say is quintessentially Guatemalan?
I mean, definitely textiles for sure. Color. I think among my artist friends, I'm the few ones that does ceramic figure, even painting figure. And I think it's because really in our culture, we have so many totems, amulets. The figure is important. So I'm very much influenced by that. So there's a lot of spiritualism. I think the mix between the Mayan cosmology and the Mayan spiritualism and the influence of the Spaniards has created this kind of this syncretism. It's just something completely unique. I think that's...
I have a client who's from Guatemala. I hadn't really thought about what Guatemala looked like so much until he started sending me pictures of Guatemala. It's absolutely gorgeous, lush, tropical.
We call it the everlasting spring. It's always springtime.
Is that right?
We have 2 seasons, dry season and wet season. But it really doesn't get in the way when it's raining. It's just beautiful. It's just more green. So it's a lot of color, a lot of mountains, volcanoes.
Okay.
Well, speaking of Guatemala and how beautiful it is, we have something in common in regards to adventure tourism and education. Talk about another side of what you do too. Again, promoting and loving your culture. Talk about what you do on the tour aspect.
Well, so the tour started because I am Guatemalan and I want to share this part of me with artists. So I do tours. This is aimed for artists, although we also had couples that are not artists and they just enjoy the ride. So we visit Antigua, which is a colonial city. It's a UNESCO heritage site. And we go to Atitlan. We visit museums, artisans, communities. And I call it curated trips because every group dictates what we're going to do. So we had one for Holy Week in April. And it was amazing. It was really about people learning about the Mayan cosmology and processions, which is an influence by the Spaniards, and how it all came together. And it's been a very successful thing among artists because the beauty is that it brings them so much inspiration for their practice. It's a completely different view. Like you get out of the routine and then you see all these things you haven't seen before. But you see it with eyes of, okay, I'm going to create art from this trip. So we do workshops in the morning. Everybody's drawing and painting of what they've seen the day before. So it's very inspiring. And to me, it started as an excuse to go home more often, but it just became this beautiful thing.
It's that entrepreneurial spirit of yours, right? Here we
Yes.
are. Well, why not spread the joy and the culture too?
Yeah.
Well, and you also have a residency program. Talk about that.
So as an artist, I know an artist's dream is to have a solo show, but not everybody's ready. So I thought, how can I help an artist to show their work? So I created this long-term residency where the artists have enough time to create a cohesive body of work. And I like to say that I'm just really the project manager because we have a residential curatorial advisor that helps. They get together every month. We invite people from the art community. In Houston, everybody's so generous with their knowledge and their time and their support. And then the artists, we have 4 residents and they learn from each other. There's no rush. They just need enough time. It's a residency with enough time for you to get ready and have your solo show.
And where do you have that?
In the gallery.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
So they are actually part of the gallery. They learn things behind the scenes. Everybody helps curating. It just feels like we're a team.
Yeah, because you got multiple levels, multiple spaces there.
You
correct?
do.
I can't remember now how many square feet, but we have a front gallery, and then in the back we have a space where the residents get a studio space that they share, and we also have a mezzanine, so there's enough space for everybody to work and store their work and think about what they're doing, take their time.
Yeah, and again, you've got that beautiful courtyard. You've got the activity of Main Street, the light rail. I mean, there's so many different aspects of sensory
Definitely.
overload, I think, and it's just a great location. Remind folks the location again.
We are in 3911